From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday left the country for 2 foreign visits in Brunei Darussalam and Singapore. In his departure speech, the president said he was invited by Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah for a state visit from the 28th to the 29th of May. The chief executive will meet with the Filipino community in Brunei and is also expected to have a meeting with the business sector to promote trade and investment relations between both countries. From Brunei, President Marcos, along with First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, will go directly to Singapore for a working visit and speak at the 2024 International Institute for Strategic Studies, or IISS, Shangri-La Dialogue. The IISS Shangri-La Dialogue is an important gathering in Asia which is centered on talks on security, not only in the region but the whole world. President Marcos said he will take the opportunity to encourage the new Singaporean leaders to come to the country as the Philippines and Singapore is celebrating its 55 years of diplomatic relations this year. Let's listen to the departure speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Before I begin my formal departure statement, nais ko sana makapagbigay ng kaunting report sa taong bayan tungkol sa mga pangyayari sa pagdaan ng Typhoon Agon. Sa kasalukuyan, ang aming nakita ay tinamaan ang Region 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. At ang apektado ay 12,043 families, 26,726 persons. 3 airport at saka 28 na seaport ang naging non-operational dahil nga sa pagdaan ng bagyo. Sa kasalukuyan, 6 na lungsod at bayan ay nakaramdam ng tinatawag na power outage o brownout. At saka nagkaroon ng 13 flooding incidents at 3 rain-induced landslide. Ibig sabihin, bumagsak ang ulan at dahil doon gumuho ang lupa. Kagaya ng dati, lahat ng aming ginagawa ay in coordination. Siyempre, ang first responder lagi dyan, ang ating mga LGU. Kaya as usual, they have brought all their energies together at the very first instance. At nasabayan naman, nasundan kaagad ng national government sa pamamagitan ng pagbigay ng assistance, pagbigay ng rescue, search and rescue na ginawa. Ang DSWD ay nakapag-provide na ng 1.35 million pesos worth of assistance at merong naka-standby fund na 607.9 million na kung sakali man ay mga ngailangan tayo ay gagawin natin. Nakapaghanda rin tayo ng 841 search and rescue retrieval teams na nanggagaling sa AFP, sa Coast Guard at sa BFP. 465 transportation assets ang madi-deploy and 436 emergency telecommunications equipment ready for deployment dahil alam naman natin na ang hirap na makapagdala ng relief goods hanggat may communication tayo, kaya lagi nating inuuna yan. Kaya tuluyan kong inatasan ang DSWD, ang DA, DOH para makapagbigay ng assistance sa lahat ng mga naging biktima ng Typhoon Agon. And dahil ang kasunod naman talaga lagi dyan ay kaya't naman ang DPWH at saka ang DOTR ay kailangan susunod na dyan sa first responder para maayos na kaagad ang mga nasira na infrastructure. Kaya't yun lang po, sa kasalukuyan, patuloy pa rin ang ating search and rescue efforts, patuloy pa rin ang ating nakapaglagay tayo ng bago pa dumating yung bagyo, nakapaglagay na tayo sa ng mga relief goods na malapit dun sa area na ating inaasahan na dandaan yung bagyo. Kaya't naka-ready naman sila lahat. Kaya't sa unang pagkakataon na makapasok ang ating mga puwersa, ang ating mga DSWD, ang ating Coast Guard, ang ating Search and Rescue, lahat na mga asset natin ay makapasok na kagad dahil nakahanda tayo mula pa nang dumating ang bagyo. So patuloy naman ang ating gagawin at hindi natin titigilan ito siyempre hanggang matapos ang ating pagtulong sa mga nasalanta, sa mga naging biktima dito sa ating mga area na tinamaan ng Agon. So that is the interim report for now. We will keep you informed habang tumatagal at makita natin ang pagdaan na ng Agon at kung ano yung kailangan gawin doon sa mga naging biktima. Now, I'd like to make my departure statement for the trip that I am embarking upon today. At the invitation of His Majesty Sultan Haji Hassan al-Bolkiah Muizzuddin Waduhala, I will embark on a journey to Brunei Darussalam for a state visit. It's my first state visit to Brunei Darussalam, and it is part of my traditional tour of fellow ASEAN member states since I assumed the Philippine presidency 2 years ago. Brunei and the Philippines have enjoyed historically warm relations based on mutual respect and trust and confidence. Brunei has continuously been a reliable partner of the Philippines, and our countries have enjoyed extremely friendly relations since we established relations 40 years ago. Sa aking biyahe patungong Brunei, babaunin ko ang aking tungkulin at pangako na lalo pang palakasin at ang ating pagkakaibigan at pagtutulungan ng ating bansa sa ibang bansa kagaya ng Brunei Darussalam. And as soon as I arrive at Bandar Seri Begawan, I will be meeting with His Majesty Sultan Haji Hassan al-Bolkiah to review the progress of our bilateral cooperation, explore new mutually beneficial partnerships and collaborations aimed at achieving prosperity. We must now deepen the bonds of friendship between our two countries. We expect to conclude several agreements ranging from security to tourism and agriculture. Brunei has always been an important partner when it comes to defense cooperation with the Philippines. So during my trip, I will discuss with His Majesty ways for further cooperation with Brunei in ensuring the defense of our countries and of our region. As mentioned in my State of the Nation address last year, tourism continues to be an important economic engine of our growth, employing at least 5 million of our kababayans. During this trip to Brunei, we will sign the Philippines-Brunei Darussalam MOU on tourism cooperation. And through this MOU, we hope to entice and attract Bruneian tourists to explore the Philippines. Brunei, despite having a relatively small population, it is the quality of tourists and not the quantity that counts. These are also among the key priorities born from the successful convening of the third Philippines-Brunei Joint Commission for Bilateral Cooperation, which was held last August. I am confident that our partnership with Brunei in these important sectors will further bolster our political, economic, and people-to-people ties. Tomorrow, I will engage the business communities in the Sultanate and highlight the Philippines as one of the fastest growing economies of Asia, best as a good choice for investments. I look forward to securing investments that will generate more jobs, contribute to poverty alleviation, and accelerate the economic transformation of our country. From there, I will proceed to Singapore, and I will deliver the keynote address for this year's Shangri-La Dialogue. The Shangri-La Dialogue is a very important dialogue because it is a dialogue about security and defense concerns amongst several foreign ministers, defense ministers, and I think that it is extremely timely that I attend and put forward and articulate the Philippines' perspective and outlook on defense and diplomacy, while we continue to highlight the Philippines' commitment to a rules-based international order and constructive multilateralism amidst the current geopolitical challenges that we face in our region. My visit to Singapore is part of a series of high-level exchanges between Philippines and Singapore, which began at the start of the year. This year, the Philippines and Singapore are celebrating 55 years of diplomatic relations. And my visit is timely, as I will also take the opportunity to invite the new Singaporean President and Prime Minister to visit the Philippines as a testament to our strengthening bonds. This is also very useful as they have just changed the leadership. The leadership has just shifted earlier this month, and it will be very, very good to begin immediately to start to strengthen our relations with the new leaders of Singapore. Hangad ko po na sa aking pag-uwi dito ay may hatid kaming pasalubong na magandang balita mula sa aming pagbisita sa Brunei at sa Singapore.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has signed a law that will protect and ensure the welfare of movie and television industry workers, which stemmed from the demise of legendary actor Eddie Garcia while filming on set. In a news release, the Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, said the President signed Republic Act, or RA 11996, or the Eddie Garcia Law, on May 24th. The new law mandates the implementation of work hours, wages, and other wage-related benefits, social security and welfare benefits, basic necessity, health and safety, working conditions and standards, and insurance. Under the law, the protection of the movie and television workers should also be in line with the Labor Code of the Philippines, or Presidential Decree Number 442 as amended, and RA 11058, or the Act strengthening compliance with occupational safety and health standards and providing penalties for violations and other applicable laws. The Eddie Garcia Law has taken into account the gravity of the accident that caused the death of Garcia while filming. RA 11996 mandates that the worker and the employer or principal shall execute an agreement or an employment contract in a language or dialect understood by both parties before the commencement of service. As for the wages, the minimum wage of a worker shall not be less than the applicable minimum wage in the region where the worker is hired, and wages shall be paid on time as agreed upon in the contract directly to the worker. All workers shall also be covered by and entitled to benefits provided by the Social Security System, or SSS. the Home Development Mutual Fund or Pag-ibig Fund, and the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth. To ensure the health and safety of workers, the law mandates the employer to strictly comply with the occupational safety and health standards provided by the law. Violators of any section of the law shall be fined up to 100,000 pesos for the first offense, up to 200,000 for the second offense, and up to 500,000 pesos for the third and succeeding offenses.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Senate is now consolidating the status of bills being prioritized by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. even during the Sine Die break. In a television interview on Monday, Senate President Francis Chis Escudero said they are also checking the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council or LEDAC bills, including priorities of the Senate and its individual members, and the priorities of the House of Representatives, which they are targeting to pass before the year ends, and also the campaign season for the 2025 midterm elections begins. Escudero said the Senate has so far approved roughly half of the 20 LEDAC priority measures, but highlighted the need to prioritize the proposed amendments to the Republic Act or RA number 11534 or the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises or CREATE Act as a top priority. The Senate President said Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is now on top of it as chairperson of the Ways and Means panel. Escudero also cited as priorities the proposed revisions to the RA 11203 or the Rice Tariffication Law and the revival of the Reserve Officers Training Corps. Senator Escudero assured there will be no half-baked legislations under his watch, and all proposed measures will all go through the process of the legislative mill and answer all possible concerns of various sectors before being passed, instead of passing a faulty or defective piece of legislation.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine Department of Budget and Management or DBM Secretary Amena Pangandaman on Monday assured the public that there will be no underspending this year, as she noted the changes made to ensure better government spending and disbursements. During the 2024 Philippine Economic Briefing in Pasay City, Pangandaman touted the steps taken by the DBM to avoid another underspending episode which the country experienced during the first half of last year. Government underspending was identified as among the factors for the slower 2023 second quarter economic growth. Pangandaman said the DBM included a provision on early procurement in the General Appropriations Act of 2024, allowing government agencies to bid out their projects ahead of time. The DBM Secretary said government agencies have allocated funding for digitalization, which will increase efficiency in government spending and program implementation. She said the DBM has already released over 80% of the 2024 budget to government agencies as early as January. Meanwhile, Pangandaman said the agency will once again push for the passage into law of the National Government Right-Sizing Program. The DBM has been pushing for the passage of the measure since the start of the Marcos administration, saying that will help upgrade the government's institutional capacity to perform its mandate while ensuring optimal and efficient use of resources. The bill was approved on final reading by the House of Representatives on March 14, 2023, while the administration's version of the bill was sponsored by Senator Joel Villanueva on December 5, 2023.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines National Amnesty Commission, or NAC, and National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, or NCMF, is scheduled to sign a Memorandum of Agreement, or MOA, that will promote the amnesty proclamation of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. The MOA signing will be led by NAC Chairperson, Attorney Lea Tanodra Armamento, along with NCMF Secretary Attorney Sabudin Abdurrahim, in a ceremony to be held at the Philippine International Convention Center, or PICC, in Pasay City this coming Friday. Under the agreement, the NCMF will help the NAC to provide legal advice to Muslim beneficiaries of the amnesty and will refer to the NAC Muslims interested in the program. The NCMF will also swear in Muslims who applied for the program, in accordance to the rules and guidelines of the NAC. With the partnership between the NAC and NCMF, they hope to achieve the objectives of the government's programs on peace and promote a climate that will help rebel Muslims to submit to the folds of the law and return to mainstream society.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, has approved the creation of about 5,000 non-teaching positions in schools supervised by the Department of Education, or DepEd, nationwide. In a news release on Tuesday, the DBM said the creation of new non-teaching positions for fiscal year 2024 aims to help relieve teachers of the burden of performing administrative tasks due to the lack or absence of non-teaching personnel in schools. Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman said, by approving the creation of 5,000 non-teaching positions, the DBM aims to relieve teachers of administrative tasks and allow them to focus on quality instruction. Pangandaman said the move reflects President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s commitment to uphold the overall welfare of both teachers and learners. The 5,000 non-teaching positions within DepEd are Administrative Officer, or AO2 positions with salary grade, or SG11, for fiscal year 2024. They will be deployed to school division offices and schools nationwide. Funding requirements for the positions will be charged against the Miscellaneous Personal Benefits Fund in the fiscal year 2024 General Appropriations Act, while the retirement and life insurance premium is chargeable against automatic appropriations.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, on Monday reported that 5 areas have been considered as having war-like conditions and were included in the International Bargaining Forum, or IBF, list. Under Advisory Number 12-2024, the DMW said the warlike operations areas are more dangerous for Filipino seafarers. These 5 areas are the 12 nautical miles off the mainland Yemeni coast, including all ports and excluding the Maritime Security Transit or Military Established Corridor in its entirety, the southern section of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, with boundary commencing from the Yemeni coast border stretching across the Eritrea coast, the Sea of Azov and the Strait of Kerch, the northern Black Sea region, and all ports in Ukraine. At the same time, the DMW also reminded ship owners and employers of the applicable benefits for Filipino workers whose destinations are included in the IBF list. The benefits are bonus equal to the basic wage that is payable for 5 days minimum, doubled compensation for death and disability, right to refuse sailing with repatriation at the company's cost and compensation equal to 2 months' basic wage, and mandatory requirement to increase security arrangements. The DMW said the Black Sea was classified in the IBF list as a high-risk area, which means seafarers shall be entitled to a bonus equal to basic wage payable for the actual duration of stay or transit, doubled compensation for death and disability, right to refuse sailing with repatriation at company's cost and compensation equal to 2 months' basic wage, and increased security arrangements. The Gulf of Guinea, covering the Liberia-Ivory Coast border to the Angola-Namibia border, is an extended risk zone, with seafarers entitled to a bonus equal to basic wage that is payable only on the day the vessel is attacked in an act of piracy, and doubled compensations for death and disability if they occur on the day the vessel is attacked. The advisory was issued amid the series of attacks on vessels, mostly in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. More than 25% of the 1.5 million mariners deployed worldwide are Filipinos.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Philippines Department of Agriculture, or DA, on Monday reported that 21,000 hectares of farmland from the regions of Calabarzon, Bicol, and Eastern Visayas were devastated by Typhoon Aghon, most of which are rice fields. In an interview, Agriculture Assistant Secretary for Field Operations, Nicholas Manalo, said, field offices of the DA are still validating the extent of the damage, and it is possible that destruction to crops would be higher. Assistant Secretary Manalo assured that the government is prepared to provide the necessary assistance to those affected by the storm, such as seeds and other farm equipment. The agriculture official is confident that there will be no significant effect in the supply of rice, as many areas in the country have already harvested their crops. Manolo reminded farmers to place farm equipment in storage facilities early to ensure sufficient supply during times of calamities.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, we would like to invite everyone to come and visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
from the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.